Hi, welcome to We Wine Whenever. I'm Wendy.
I'm Kelly.
We are talking about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 5, Episode number 16. This one is called When All Is Said and Done.
Fitting, because it was the season finale, right?
Yes, it was the season finale.
Were you too confused when the episode began? Did you feel like you missed, like I was like, did I miss an episode? Because it started and then it said, and then it went back.
Yes, it did do that. I hate when they do that.
Yeah, because I really thought I missed an episode.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't like when they do that, but that's kind of their new go-to. They've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah.
So after that little flashback, we go to, it's actually day 4 in Puerto Vallarta. Meredith woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning with a scratched cornea.
It was not a scratched cornea. She is so friggin' dramatic. If you had a scratched cornea, you would not be sitting there. That shit is so painful and serious. She got a little fucking eyelash in her eye or something.
Agreed.
Coming out with that stupid thing on her face.
She looked a mess, though.
Stop it.
I mean,
I do a
little bit tonight, too, but you're on camera, girl.
And who has
so am I.
a fur? Who wears a fur eye mask in a tropical location? It's hot there. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
She's just a character of herself, I think. I don't think anything about her is real or genuine. I just think she's just a character of herself on this show.
Sorry. I just...
No, it's quite all right. So I'm looking at my notes, and I don't know if you guys saw this or it occurred to you, but so Heather and her are talking, and Heather said, I don't think you've ever yelled and screamed at me before like that. And Meredith says, I don't feel like I'm heard unless I lose it. But then she says, this is where I was confused. Meredith says, well, she led this morning with an apology and an explanation for her behavior. I didn't hear any apology.
No. And who was she talking about? Britney?
No, she was talking, I don't know, because she said this to Heather. It was only her and Heather there talking. And then she said this, I led this morning with an apology and an explanation of my behavior. And then Heather said, I accept your apology. But I'm
sorry, Meredith was saying it about herself.
Yes, but what did she call her in the morning and they agreed to meet there?
And why wasn't production there to catch it?
Like, what was the apology? But what was the explanation of her behavior?
Right.
Like, I don't know what it was.
You know what it is for me?
What?
It's like a child and my husband. Like, they talk and I just don't even listen. Like, I don't even remember anything she says. It's just like, la, 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 la.
So Heather tells the ladies after they're done sitting there, to get ready for their tribute to Lisa lunch. And all the ladies are going to dress up like Lisa. I actually thought that was funny.
I loved the dress as Lisa at lunch.
I did too. I thought that was funny.
Me too.
And when Lisa sees them all, she's speechless. And like Meredith said, she's never seen her that way before. And you
could tell she was genuinely surprised.
Yes. Yes. And that she loved it. Like Heather said, she hates the theme, but the theme of Lisa is a theme she could certainly get behind.
Absolutely.
Literally.
Right?
Yeah.
And in her confessional, she shaded Whitney, for wearing her 3-year-old Tom Ford pants.
I saw a cute post that Whitney put out. She was supposed to have been somewhere on vacation. She's like, I'm just chilling in my 3-year-old Ford pants, living life. I've been free now.
At first, I was like, oh, no, Whitney has tags on her outfit. And then I realized what she was doing.
Then so they get to the restaurant and Lisa says, I have a reservation for 8 Lisas. And they all keep saying at the table and at the restaurant, I love that. I love that. Like Lisa says. So it's like, they've got to stop.
You know what? Seeing that many of her was absolutely nauseating.
Not for her.
I never want to see that many of her ever again. Ever.
Yeah.
Not for her, man. She was in her glory.
Yeah. Well, until Whitney stood up. So then they were all going to do impersonations of Lisa. So a bunch of them stand up and they kind of mock her with her own phrases. Like that's their impersonation. But then Whitney gets up and she turns around and she walks away. And Lisa's like, oh, my God, your tags are still on. And she goes, yeah, that's because I'm going to return it after the trip. Like that was epic. Like, great job, Whitney. Like, I loved it. I really loved it.
But I don't believe that about Lisa. Do you?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, right. Maybe. We just don't know.
And we just don't know. I mean, on the after show, it was said that there are definitely rumors about Lisa borrowing her friend's clothing and saying it's hers.
Yes.
Interesting.
And
I gotta start watching these after shows.
I love the after show. And Bronwyn said that it is an absolute fact that she has seen Britney returning shit.
Britney, yes, that's what she said.
Britney, I believe.
Yeah.
For sure. Britney, I believe.
Yeah, I started watching the after show too because Lori's been talking about it.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is there's only an after show for Beverly Hills and Salt Lake. There's not one for New York or Potomac.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, what about the other shows?
And they don't even have the same production companies, right?
Salt Lake and New York have the same. Yeah.
Right, but New York doesn't have an after show.
New York doesn't have.
No.
New York's not interesting enough to have a freaking after show. Let's just say that.
Oh.
I totally agree with you,
Okay.
especially after the episode the other night.
So then Whitney says it's been rumored for years that you return your clothes. Lisa says you could check my closet. That's not true. Whitney says, well, maybe then, you're more fake than you think you are. And then she's like, I'm not fake. And she tries to grab her wig. She reaches over to grab Whitney's wig off of her head, Lisa does. Like,
did you see the gentleman covering his daughter's ears?
Oh, I did not.
The baby's ears.
Not.
Oh, yeah.
They flash to this guy and he's covering his daughter's ears because eventually it gets so escalated.
Yeah, but that was so aggressive of her to, to reach over and to try and rip her wig off. You can't be Lisa and come on. This is supposed to be in fun. Like, you can't take it. Like, give me a break.
No, she cannot take it. That is
She can't take it.
She cannot take it.
I mean, the words that they're saying, like, you're a mean, nasty liar. It's just, you lied about my marriage. I'm like, they're in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
It just, and then Lisa says, Lisa says, prove it. And then I'm going to sue the F out of you and take your effing house.
Yeah, your new house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the after show, the rant that Lisa went on talking about how just Whitney just is trying to copy her, and Whitney doesn't know, Whitney must know, she doesn't know what it's like to have, get boxes of Gucci and Versace and Chanel and get them pretty much every other day. And sometimes there's like 60 boxes a day. And sometimes you forget to take the tags off. But she wouldn't know that because she's just recycling her clothes. Well, you know what? That's not a bad thing, you clothes whore, Lisa Barlow.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
who
not
needs
a
60
bad
boxes
thing.
of Gucci a day?
No, that's
it seems a little excessive.
It's excessive, and it's rude, and it's unnecessary. So just like every other time, like, listening to her is like listening to Jennifer Aiden. Like, you're trying to defend yourself with some stupid ass shit that is making you look twice as dumb as when you started out. So just shut up.
And shallow. You're right.
Just shut up.
They're very similar. I mean, this situation is very similar, but her trying to defend herself with that. I mean, that's
just no.
Right. 100%. So then Britney jumps in and says, I don't even really know you, Lisa, but I don't think you're fake. And Mary
thank
said,
God Mary checked her. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you even talking, Britney? Did everyone forget that you were recording them?
Yeah.
And then Brittany's like, well, you've been torturing me, calling me vile and vicious. Meredith's like, you are.
And
Brittany's,
you're unimportant, Britney.
Right.
I'm sorry. You're very unimportant to this cast.
Right. And then Brittany's like, well, I may never recover from that. Meredith's like, I may not either.
And Meredith wanted to say, well, I really don't care.
Right. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. So then Britney gets up and she walks away, and
she was waiting for somebody to come chase her.
I clearly don't have any friends here. And Heather's like, no, don't get up. And then Angie gets up and goes over to her. And then Heather gets up and goes over to her. And that's when Mary is saying, like, why is she going over there? Like, why is she comforting someone who doesn't even like me? Like, that's when Mary got hurt, which I was very surprised to see that. Like, but at least now we saw that clip. I'm like, why is Mary hurt by Angie?
Yeah, Mary's like, let her go. She's no good.
Right. Yeah.
So listen, we all know people like that. Like, you got to hate the people they hate. And I don't subscribe to that personally. Like, I just don't. I mean, unless you're rude to someone's kids or something like that, But obviously later we find out why.
Yes,
Mary reacted that way.
So we do find out. And so this is just lunch. So then after lunch, they're going to split up. and they're not sure like where they're going to go. So Mary, Meredith, and Bronwyn and Lisa go horseback riding. Mary is so funny when she gets up on that horse. She's like, if I fall off the horse, then I'll get a broken bone. Then I'll have arthritis. It'll be a defect forever.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. If you fall and the horse falls on you, you will be a defect
forever.
Those horses were going rogue, though.
Yeah, they were not having it. They were not
None
happy.
of those horses.
No, they were not happy.
Like they were,
Yeah.
And then she's saying, like, why is Meredith riding a horse if she can't hear? You can't go horseback riding if you can't hear.
I don't know what you have to hear
amazing.
on a horse.
Listen, this is one of the reasons I like Mary. She makes me laugh. Like, she really does.
Yeah. And I personally think that if she were in a better headspace, the thing with Angie probably would not have bothered her so much. But I think that she is just,
Yeah.
Plus,
not in a good place.
When Angie doesn't go horseback riding and decides to go with them.
Right.
That, you know what I mean?
It's abandoned.
Mary probably thought that, Angie was going to go with her horseback riding, and then she doesn't. And yeah, Mary's got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Whitney, Heather, Britney, and Angie all go to make ceviche. Heather says that Angie calls herself a chicharrone, because they're going to make ceviche, and the guy's name, he says something about chicharrone. Did you get that, the whole part?
I didn't catch that.
So Angie was saying it was like she thought it was boobs.
Right. She's like, it's like chichi. Chicharrone is like your boobs, your chichis. And I'm just like, what
Who
is
said
she
that?
Angie. Making shit.
Angie.
She's making shit up.
She's like, I think it's your boobs. I don't know. I'm like, Angie, no, it's not your boobs.
That's funny.
So then they're talking about the guy that's showing them how to make it, that it's marinated sea bass in lime juice for 50 minutes, 50. And Heather's like, if you can do that, like, why am I cooking hot dogs? Can I just put them in lime juice for an hour? I'm like, no.
Why are you eating hot dogs, Meredith?
Yeah.
Fucking no, that was Heather.
Man.
That was Heather.
Oh, Heather.
So when Mary's on the beach, when they're doing the horseback ride, and she says to Lisa, I think I'm done with Angie. And Lisa's like, why? And she says that she's upset about her going over to Britney and that she feels betrayed by Angie. I was surprised that she even opened up to Lisa, to be honest with you. I really was. Then we fast forward to the last night. They all finished their activities. And the last night is a luxury theme park and a private dinner. That was a weird combination.
Yeah, it was weird. It was odd.
Right?
Odd. Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of a luxury theme park.
Me neither, but I'd like to go to one.
You what?
Because I like a good theme park.
Yeah, I didn't
who would not want a luxurious one?
I agree, but I didn't really see any luxury theme park.
Me neither.
I did not.
Yeah,
So
footage,
if there's one out there, I'd like to go. I don't want to go to the one that they talked about because they didn't really go to one.
Yeah, they didn't show us a luxury theme park.
They did not.
So they do their last toast to their night in Puerto Vallarta, and Angie asked Meredith and Heather how they're doing since they had that falling out the night before. Meredith says that they're on a positive trajectory. Then they all get their food. I thought their food choices were weird too. Angie asked Mary if she wants a piece of her pepperoni.
Yeah, who goes to Mexico and gets pepperoni?
I think it was like a pizza, wasn't it?
Pizza too. Yeah, it was a pepperoni pizza. I thought that was so weird.
Yeah,
but
weird.
Anyway.
You know what? When you're staying at a resort,
they were at a luxury theme park. They were at a luxury theme park. This was their dinner.
That's right.
And what the freak is
those
luxury?
Resorts, like there's all different kinds of restaurants you can go to.
Right, I know, but what is luxury about pepperoni pizza?
Must have been an upscale Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah. Horrible.
So Mary ignores her and she's like, no. And Angie says to Mary, like, you're being very quiet with me. Mary says, I know. Angie says, what's going on? Mary's like, well, when Britney went running out and you went after her, and then you could see, like, all of a sudden, Angie's like, what happened? Angie says, Mary, I love you. You changed my life. And she's like, give me your hand. She's crying. She's like, no. She's like, no. And all the ladies are sitting there and they're just quiet and they're just watching this play out, which I was glad that they were quiet. I was glad that freaking Britney didn't jump in because I was I thought for sure she was going to.
What about me?
Yeah, right, because she's referred to Britney. Like when Mary referred to Britney, I'm like, oh my God, I hope Britney does not open her mouth. But they all sit there and they're quiet. And Angie says, I see you differently than everybody else. I've gotten to know you in a different way. And I don't like that you're shutting me out. Mary says, well, you hurt me. And Angie says, well, you're hurting me. And Mary said, well, I told you everything. She says, I know that's why you're hurting me right now. Mary said, because both of my parents abandoned me. We didn't know that.
We didn't know that. I mean, we knew that her mom, she's made comments that her mom always chose men over her and her siblings. But we didn't know. The first time we really heard her talk about her dad was when she was talking about him living near Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But she never said anything about him abandoning her then.
Yeah. Yeah. She said, my dad admitted that he didn't like me and my mom was my best friend and she cut me off. And Mary's crying. I'm an adult with
abandonment. Who does not love Mary right now?
I know. I'm an adult with abandonment issues. I don't like when people betray me. I remember that feeling from when I was 6 years old. And you could see that this was real. And my dad left and he told my mom. Angie says, I'm not abandoning you. Like, I lost my mom too. Like, I get it. She has abandonment issues as well. And I don't think Angie was abandoning her when she went to go comfort Britney. I think she was just being empathetic to someone else who was...
I totally agree with you. Doesn't this make you wonder, though, if this is why? So Mary's grandmother obviously was married to Robert Sr., who was 20 years younger than her.
Yes.
Right.
So probably only 20 years younger than Mary, I'm assuming. Don't you think that this may be why her grandmother, because her grandmother placed her in line to marry Robert Sr., and the mother basically wrote Mary off for good because the mother thought it should have been her.
It should have been her.
But maybe the grandmother was like, fuck you. You didn't do right by your kids all these years, because the grandmother knew what was in line for. I mean, there was a lot of wealth that came along with that and a lot of stature. And, maybe this is why the grandmother made that decision.
Yeah, maybe. But, Mary's got a lot of walls up. So
rightfully so, though.
Infantile as it may seem, looking at a situation that way, it is kind of understandable for her to look at it like that and have that knee-jerk reaction. But kudos to her that she knows. She called her own self out. She knows what she's got going on. And a lot of times, that's a half of your battle.
Yes. Kudos to Angie for not being like, fuck you, I just walked out to see how she was doing. Like, Angie stuck in there and was like, no, that's...
Right.
No, I'm not going anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere.
That's why I'm saying, thank God Angie was there enough to kind of break through that wall and be like, no, like, that's not how it is, Mary. Like, let's look at this reasonably. Without saying that, she said that.
Right. So then Angie says, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I do love you and I want to be your friend forever. Mary says, every time I pick up the phone, I want to say, I love you, but I'm not saying it first. I don't want to say it first.
She's so cute.
She's like a man in the relationship.
Yeah.
Mary admits that she did find a real friend in Angie. And, they're good now. Like, that's all they needed to get through that. And that was honestly my favorite part of this whole episode. Was the whole Angie and Mary makeup. And Angie being vulnerable, Mary being vulnerable, them letting them talk it out.
Way more enjoyable than all the screaming and yelling and nonsense.
Absolutely.
Way more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So then Meredith says, well, I do have an issue and a concern. I need some resolution here.
Of course she does. She's such she's like a mood killer. It's like,
Yep. She says, Whitney, you accuse Lisa of planning a story with a blogger about your jewelry being from Alibaba. The person that supposedly gave you this proof contacted me and gave me a very different story. Now, we all know that that's Adam from Up and Adam. Like, we know that, right?
But think about when this was filmed, because her story completely checked out with what he said.
Whose story?
What Meredith said.
Well, Meredith's story does match what Up and Adam said. Absolutely.
And think about the timing.
The thing
they had taped this.
I know. The thing is, though, production cuts to the footage where Whitney's on the phone with Adam, And he does say it's someone who owns a liquor brand.
He does say that.
So what's really true? What Adam said that we don't have footage of to Meredith, or what we heard the footage of? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you can, producers can, that's their job to manipulate shit. So who really knows?
They could have manipulated what he said.
That's the whole point, though. I mean, those were his words that he said. We don't know if it was in reference to that question, but that's how they made it sound.
It's definitely how they made it sound, and we heard him say that it's somebody who owns a liquor brand.
Liquor brand. No, I wouldn't be surprised if he did give Whitney that information and then got in touch with Meredith and tried to stir the pot. And then he comes out with that story of what he told Meredith.
To me,
you know what I mean? Like, either
foolish.
could be true.
Isn't your credibility worth more than that? Isn't your credibility worth more than having 2 minutes on a Housewives show where now you look like a liar?
Yeah.
And now your credibility's shot. It's not worth it to me.
No, I agree. So then Lisa says, well, that's not proof, And Whitney said, well, it's no secret that you fed information to reality Von Teese. And Lisa's like, that's not true. And she's like, I'll pull out my phone and prove it. And Heather says, who told you this to Whitney? And she's like, well, I reached out to Monica. And the look on Heather's face.
I mean, who's going to believe Monica? Monica has nothing to lose now. She looks like a big jackass from last season. She could say anything. Who would believe Monica at this point? She's the least trustworthy person that's ever,
I don't necessarily find Heather trustworthy either. You don't forget about how Heather was in cahoots with her hairdresser, who was in cahoots with Monica.
Yes, that's true.
Don't think that, I wouldn't say that Miss Heather Gay is.
I'm not saying I believe Heather either, but I definitely wouldn't believe anything Monica says.
So then Whitney says, I reached out to her out of desperation because I was so sick of being called a liar. Whitney says, I felt backed into a corner by these two. And then Mary jumps in and said, you guys are not the friendliest people. Like, Meredith says, are you talking to me? And she's like, yeah, you two gang up on people and make them feel like they're backed in the corner. And they do.
Meredith and Lisa.
Yeah. Meredith and Lisa, yes. That's who she was referring to. And that's the same thing that was happening to Whitney. I was glad to see that Mary jumped in on that, to be quite honest with you. And then Heather says that this is the problem to Meredith. The fact that this man has access to you, you need to cut it off and change your number. And the same for you, she points to Whitney. And we all know, like, she's referring to Adam. Heather says to them both, like, consider the source. Then Heather goes off on this little monologue. Now, I don't know. I think that either she is a very good actress, she must be, because she also had the monologue at the end of last season, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she knows how to give a speech. She could be a politician.
Yeah,
I love Whitney's juvenile double pointing of the fingers. I loved it.
What do you mean, the double pointing of the fingers?
Oh, when she was
Lisa
saying,
said,
don't point at me, and she was like nitty nitty ha 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 ha.
Exactly, nitty nitty.
I liked it. Yeah, it was very nitty nitty ha.
So Heather starts her monologue with,
definitely a monologue.
Look at us, we're obsessed to find the receipts, and you have a stranger trying to pit you two against each other. Every day we have to put on our armor to face the things that the world is going to say about us, to become accountable for the things that we do. We are judged by the things that we do. We are judged privately. We are judged publicly. But we understand it hurts when we're called bad mothers. It hurts when someone attacks our business. It hurts when someone says we are ugly.
Wait.
These are the...
Stop right
You're
there.
interrupting my monologue?
I am. When she says that, when Heather says, hurts when someone calls you ugly, the camera panned right to Britney.
Did it really?
And right to her. I was like, ooh, okay.
What was her face? Did her face
she just
react to it?
Had like a stupid face on. No.
So that was the cameras saying that?
Yeah. Production.
Somebody must have been behind the camera
right
holding up a cue card for Heather to read all that. She didn't come up with that on the top of her head.
No.
Well, I think she memorized it. So, okay. It hurts when someone says we are ugly. These are the types of things we have to fight in the world. We shouldn't have to fight these at this table. We made fun of Monica for having a burn book, and we all have our own burn books. But our burn
So
books
now
are
she's
not...
defending Monica?
No, but our burn books are not like a curated copy of Mean Girls. A curated copy of Mean Girls?
Somebody wrote this for her.
She worked for a long time on this speech.
For sure.
But it's in our phones. None of us are without fault. We've all said horrible, hurtful things about each other when we should have been honoring, celebrating, and keeping this place safe and private.
And does everyone still stand up and salute and say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Exactly. Like, what the fuck is this? What was that?
So then she says, I thought we got rid of this problem last year, but we didn't. But we're going to solve it tonight. I think what we do is we pull out our phones, we go through our text messages and find the worst thing we said about someone at this table. We hand them the phone and they're going to read it out loud to the group. We're going to burn it and move on.
This is the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
And who came up with it?
Heather.
No.
Production.
No.
Whoever wrote the monologue came up with it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to get into what the text messages said, but at the salon, my friend Danielle was like, oh, I can't wait to hear what you guys say about Salt Lake City. So I said to her, I have text, I text people all the time. Those text messages, I don't have anything in my, and I'm texting all the time. I don't have anything in my text messages that are anywhere near as nasty and mean as cutting as these text messages. To me, it just seemed very odd that these text messages were sent to people about.
Right, that they existed. And how about odd that they were readily at hand?
Right.
Some of them were from like
very
months
staged
ago.
to me.
Of course,
And I talk shit. Don't get me wrong. I talk shit. I know better than to put it in writing, though.
Right.
But these were
very
very
staged,
detailed, very nasty, vile messages.
No one was sitting there for 10 minutes thinking, oh, let me find that text.
Yeah, like, what? I remember I sent that one text message about Bronwyn. Yeah, let me go pull that up. I don't know.
No,
this seems very staged to me.
It is staged. It's a show.
All right. So Meredith said, I think that's absurd. Heather says, well, who wants to start? Mary says, I'll go first. And she hands her phone to Heather. Hers was pretty,
spot on.
Yeah. Heather, from day one, I never felt heard by her or accepted from this group. She changed the day she became successful. I think it went to her head. She started getting aggressive and throwing all the things she's accomplished in our faces. Instead of being grateful for her blessings, it's turned into competitive and super mean, all while she's enjoyed the feeling of fame. She's forgotten the people who helped her get to where she is, and you are truly happy and proud of her, like I have been and always will be.
Spot on.
Yes, it is spot on.
I think a lot of it had to do with, first her book, but then her weight loss. And I think after that, she was like, okay, well, now I'm in the cool girl section.
Right, exactly.
And fuck you all. Yeah.
Yep.
So then Heather's response is, I understand why you said those things. I think it's unfair because I lost a lot of things. And I understand when I became more successful, I'm aware of the things I lost and the person I became. I like her better and she's more authentically me. So when she was referring to the things that she lost, it's her community. When she wrote the book and she, came out with Bad Mormon, she lost her family and her community. And she did lose a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of liked her response, She feels like this is really who she is, but, this is who I am, take it or leave it kind of thing. That's what I got from her with that. I know my life has fundamentally changed. I know who I was 5 years ago when I met you. I had zero hope of my life and my future, zero ambition. I just wanted to plug along, not screw up my kids, and be put out to pasture. But the success I've had fueled me to want a second chapter.
And now she's writing another book.
And then she says she doesn't want her newfound confidence to come across as mean.
Just stop being up Meredith and Lisa's ass, and you'll be fine. Stop being an embryo in their coochie, as
there you
Marcel
go.
would say.
There you go. And then you'll be fine.
Then she says, I don't want the newfound confidence to come across as mean. Mary said, I know Heather's changed and I know she's different. Mary said, this is the Heather that I used to know. This is her tonight. Heather says, clean slate. Mary says, love you. And Heather says, love you. And they end it.
Great.
They let it go.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Then Britney's like, I'll go next.
So stupid. Just so stupid. Just so stupid.
Unimportant. So unimportant.
So
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
And Mary's like, I'm not going to your house anyway. Like,
yeah, I don't.
Shut
Good.
up.
I'm glad you would rather have tea with Bronwyn.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Great. We're all on the same page. Move on.
I know. Exactly. So hers was that she would rather invite Bronwyn over for tea instead of Mary. I mean, everyone at the table's like, that's the meanest thing you have.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that either.
Nobody believes that. How could you believe that?
Come on.
Then Bronwyn hands her phone to Britney. Britney is emotionally manipulative. I didn't look up this word. She parentifies her children. Trauma bonds her relationship and is doing it to us. It's below her intelligence level and her maturity level. It makes me feel furious and embarrassed for her. Bronwyn says, every time I spend time with Britney, I feel like it's the weird trauma dump and it's uncomfortable.
I think it means that almost the roles are reversed with her children. Her children are more in the parental position and she's in the child position. Like that's how emotionally stunted she is.
Yeah, I mean, that could be.
You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that's what she's trying to say.
Then Bronwyn says after she reads it, she's like, it's harsh. Britney says it's extremely harsh and you don't know enough about me to know anything at all. Bronwyn says, I'm sorry. Bronwyn said, I would like to get to know a different side of you. But, this is what you've shown me.
Right. This is what she's shown everybody.
Right.
So parentification is when a child is forced to take on adult responsibilities before they are ready. So yeah, exactly what you said.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that was spot on too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they're with their dad, her girls, right? They're with their dad.
Yes.
So, I mean, they do have a parent, but we don't see her with her girls. So we don't know what kind of relationship they have. So maybe that is the kind of relationship they have. And we don't see it, but the other cast members have seen it because they've heard her on the phone with them or FaceTime with them or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I think she's too busy trying to be friends with them.
Well, I think she's probably doing whatever she can do to have
absolutely
some kind of relationship with them because of the choices she's made.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And continues to make, obviously.
Right.
Because she's still with that douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then Angie says, I'll go next.
Oof. This one was hard to listen to.
I sent this to Heather, but I wrote a little ditty about Bronwyn. This was bad. Bronwyn seems nice. I like your business plan of marrying a guy who got one foot in the grave and the other one on a banana peel, but I like mine better. I'm self-made. She's nice, but she doesn't listen because her ears are stitched down to her face too tight. She wears a hot dog outfit to remind us that she sucked her way to the top.
Yeah, that's so bad.
Listen,
so bad.
Angie is Greek. And I'm serious. If you're going to have friends that are Greek, they lose their ever-loving fucking mind. And then a little while later, it's all good. And everybody's supposed to be okay. But I'm telling you, I'm no diss to Greeks. It is a cultural thing. It is just something that happens. And if you're going to be friends with them, you might as well have a very thick skin.
You got to have thick skin.
Because
that, I don't know, though. That's pretty fucking harsh. She sucked her way to the top. You don't know her like that. And even if you did, she didn't do anything to you to deserve that.
Right. Oh, I'm not saying it was right in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying that I would necessarily even say, you know what, you're Greek, you had a bad day, okay? I'm not even saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I have Greek friends and they can be like wicked.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's Greek friends that I have are people that I could call and say, there's a body.
Okay.
And they'd be like, all right, I'll be there with the shovel and we'll never talk about it again.
Say no more.
I'm just
You're
saying.
not yours or mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Angie says, I wrote the text in the heat of the moment after camping the way Bronwyn treated me.
The heat of the Greek moment.
I was confused. I knew I was one of the only ones that defended her. Angie said, I realized watching her read it, the damage my words can do to someone, and I deeply regret it. And listen, that's awesome. That's awesome that she realized that, because those words were horrible. Bronwyn's crying.
Somebody would have to seriously fuck with my kids for me to say that about them.
Bronwyn's crying. Angie says, I'm sorry, Bronwyn. Bronwyn says, you don't need to be sorry. It's how you feel. Angie said, it's how I felt at the moment. Bronwyn said, you probably feel that way because of the way I've treated people, but I'm taking it in and it's a clean slate. We're moving forward.
I love how Angie said, I like your hot dog costume.
Right. I know.
But wow. So really, quite frankly, I think what happens here in this episode is you see definitely from most of the group a decent level of maturity and being able to take something that somebody says, being able to take it in that moment, digest it, and let it go.
Well, except Whitney. Except Lisa with Whitney.
Lisa and Meredith.
And Meredith. Yeah, she can't handle shit.
No, she got up and left. She had no intentions of reading anything.
No. From the
get-go. She definitely did not. And Lisa didn't either, right? Because we only got as far as...
Lisa did. No, Lisa did.
What did Lisa write?
Lisa said she'll go next. Lisa said, I'll go next. She hands her phone to Meredith. I wrote it last year. I feel like Meredith digs up information to weaponize it. She's fucking dirty and I don't like it.
He said, why? How did I miss that?
Meredith says, given it was last year, I'm not surprised. Lisa says, yeah, I was super upset. That was it.
And if you think that's the nastiest thing that Lisa Barlow has ever texted about something,
listen,
I can sell you a bridge.
We've all heard her hot mic moment. So she for sure.
Andy brought that up on Watch What Happens Live, the hot mic moment. And she said, well, I was just repeating what other people had said. And Meredith and I are good now. Like, we're good. We spent so much time working on our relationship, and Meredith and I are good. That's what she said.
So we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Right.
It's just going to get me in trouble again.
Well, you know what? Listen, Lisa protesteth too much.
Well,
yes.
Let's get to it.
No, wait. We got to go to Heather first. Heather goes next. Sorry. We got to go in order.
I know, but these are so unimportant.
But she does Whitney's.
All
Heather
right.
Heather said, I'll go next. She hands her phone to Whitney. Whitney is a low-life, thirsty piece of shit. She sold her soul for fame and recognition. She's a snake, and I should have never trusted her. And I carry her stupid wellness products, even though I never sold a fucking one.
She's talking about herself when she's saying all that, by the way, because she's the one who's a thirsty bitch, Heather.
Well, how do you really feel? How do you really feel?
Yeah. She really is. She's the thirstiest of them all, out of all of the housewives, out of all of the franchises.
So Angie says she didn't mean it. Whitney says, yes, she does. Heather says, I didn't mean it. I was upset and I was frustrated. Heather says, when you hurt me, it cuts much deeper. I love you. I want to be good with you. We're good. They both agree. They're good. They promise each other they're going to move on. Then Whitney says, I'll go next. And she hands her phone to Lisa. She says, I wrote this text to Angie after I heard a rumor from a friend of mine. So I was at a party with Justin, and this woman approached us and said, if we ever wanted to bring in a third, she's the one. In fact, Lisa and John can vouch for her. She's made out with Lisa while jerking off John.
Did you see Angie's face? I'll be honest with you. Angie's face kind of leads me to believe that there could be some truth to this.
Lisa says, what the fuck, and throws Whitney's phone. Whitney said, I chose this because I've said things about your marriage, and I don't believe this. Lisa said, because it's not true. Whitney says, I want to burn it. Lisa points at Angie and says, I'm surprised at you. Like, Angie had nothing to do with this. Like, why are you surprised at Angie? Angie's like, why are you pointing at me?
And Angie just keeps saying over and over, nobody believes this, Lisa. Nobody believes this. Nobody believes this. And then Lisa says something about Sean being in a circle jerk, and Angie goes crazy.
Don't fuck with the Greek girl.
I know, but Angie was just sitting there telling her friend, don't worry about this, Lisa. Nobody believes this. Nobody believes this. But then Lisa says something about her husband, hypothetically. I don't think Lisa was saying that Sean was really involved in a circle jerk. Angie pops off. Like, you can't do that.
Telling you, mess with the Greek girl. She loses her boob in the process, everything. Loses her mind.
Lisa says, you crossed a line when you brought my husband into this. Lisa's yelling, stop fucking apologizing. You don't mean it. You're dirty as fuck. And then Lisa in her confessional says, to put my family in the mud like this, there's nothing lower than this. And Angie, like you said, keeps saying, I don't believe that there's any infidelity in your marriage.
Yeah, nobody believes it.
Like, please don't point at me, because she kept pointing at Angie. Whitney said, I could have chosen to say something about your looks, but I wanted to be authentic. She's like, well, say something about my looks. She's like, no, I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to burn this. I want to put it behind us. Whitney says to Lisa, shut the fuck up and listen to me. Lisa says to Angie about the circle jerk. Angie picks up the flowers and throws them at Lisa. Security comes in. Whitney gets up. Mary gets up and goes over to Angie. It was insanity. It was literal insanity. And on the after show, you know what Lisa was talking about? I paid for those flowers that Angie threw at me.
Bitching about how she paid for those flowers. I was like, you gotta be shitting me.
Are you kidding?
Like,
that's
who cares?
what she said on the after show about the flowers.
Yeah. Lisa said on the after show, Whitney is not on my level whatsoever, and she is so far beneath me, she could never climb up to me.
Why would you even say that's like a Kelly Ben-Simone thing? I'm up here and you're down here to Bethany. That's a disgusting thing to say. It's a disgusting way to think. You're on an ensemble cast, honey. You're no more important than Whitney.
No, on that
everybody's more important than Britney.
Right.
But Lisa is not more important than Whitney.
On that after show, Lisa said the word like, I want you to guess how many times she said. What do you think? What's your guess?
33.
What's your guess, Wendy? On the after show?
47.
26, which is bad enough.
That is, I mean, it's probably only 22 minutes long.
Exactly.
26 times. And I'm sure I missed a couple.
So after that happens, it's pretty much over. Then what happens is Meredith gets up and walks out.
So she doesn't have to read anything.
She doesn't have to read anything. Like I said, security comes in and Angie's over talking to Mary, and Whitney are together. So then it shows up on the screen like Angie's like her picture and what her final line is. No longer being tied to the phone, Angie now has more time to spend with her father, leaving Electra free to roam. Her salons are busier than ever. Fortunately, high body count hair is not an offered service. Then Lisa gets up in the midst of this and says, get this effing mic off me. And then Lisa's lines are, Lisa, John, and Henry have gone the distance this summer, traveling around the world first class, and can't wait until Jack returns from his mission in 6 months. Meanwhile, Lisa and John have plans to build a new home, but no intentions to assign bedrooms.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I didn't get that either.
No, I don't get it.
Then we go back to the scene. Bronwyn says there were horrible things said about my marriage. And then she said stuff about Angie's marriage. Just because she's upset, it doesn't make sense. Heather says, well, that's what this was about, leveling the field. We have to all burn it and move forward. Then that's when Meredith says, I'm out. So she gets up and walks out. Then we see her closing line is, since becoming a Bod mitzvah, Meredith has been engaging more with her spirituality and selling out of her bath bomb. She is now pivoting from the beauty world to the espionage world and working on a signature pink recording device, Meredith Mark's recording device. She will not be sharing her business plans with Whitney. I'm like, what?
Stupid. That was,
I mean,
yeah, it was almost like the producers got to the very end and were like, just whatever. Like they didn't even
like they stopped
to do with her anymore.
Yeah, like they didn't even think about those last tagline things. They just like threw anything out there.
Right.
So then we go back to the scene. Heather says, you guys, this is the last way I wanted to end our trip. I'm so sorry. I will say this. I liked that everyone that got resolution because I really do think that those people can move forward and be together next season and have a good season. I mean, Lisa and Meredith, I don't really think we need them because they don't know how to move forward and they don't know how to let things go.
And they're not showing anything. They don't show anything. Quite honestly, who on this cast did show anything about their lives this season?
Mary.
Bronwyn. Honestly, that's it.
Bronwyn
Heather
did.
didn't share anything about her life. Bronwyn did. Angie really didn't show anything about her life.
Well, she did last season so much.
But come on, you're on a reality TV show.
What was
Lisa
there?
didn't, Meredith, Heather didn't, Angie didn't, Mary did, Bronwyn did, Whitney didn't. This whole season was about rumors and Britney, who I don't care to know any additional information about.
Well, Bronwyn said in the after show, she said, everybody's true colors are coming out. The people who want to have friendships, the people who can own their own shit, and the people who are, just fucking narcissist. And I think that's true too. And the only people upset about this is the people that are not real.
Right.
And did you guys see at the end where Whitney says it was very... You know how she says that word, healing. That girl,
Healing.
Out and out said Hilling. I'm like, what are you doing? Just saying that word completely, like trashing it. Healing.
All right. So then Mary's final line was, Mary thanks God for the help and support Robert Jr. has received, and they are taking recovery day by day. She's even more grateful that Jared has stopped DMing her.
That was hysterical.
That was great.
That was very, very, very good.
Bronwyn's final was, while her friendship with Lisa remains fraught, Bronwyn and Todd's relationship has grown stronger. Gwen still has no plans to meet her grandparents, and Bronwyn has no plans to host a couple vacation unless Todd makes the guest list.
Yeah, on the
they
after
seem
show,
fine, right?
Yeah.
On the after show, Mary and Angie are talking, and they're talking about Lisa. So Mary says to Angie something about like whatever it takes to wake you up. Like, I guess Mary was trying to say whatever it takes for Angie to wake up in regards to her relationship to Lisa. So I guess Mary is trying to tell her, look, like, I know you think you have this great relationship with her, but it's really not.
Right. I mean, Lisa's proven herself to be an extremely selfish friend. It's all about her.
Yeah.
She's not going to ask you how you're doing. She's not going to, she's not going to be your go-to lean on when you got an issue.
And like Bronwyn said in the after show, Lisa's concern for herself is so far above her concern for anybody else that Bronwyn says she doesn't know if anybody can even have a fair and reasonable relationship with her right now because I think she's capable.
I don't think she is either. I think she loves her husband very much. I think she loves her children. Like, I think she's a great wife and a great mom. I do.
And I think that's as far as it goes.
Right. I mean, hopefully she's a good sister too, a good daughter, a good, with her friends, not with these friends. Let's put it that way.
I would even differ to say that it's a high probability that she really doesn't even have those kind of friendships, even with other people outside the show. I just don't think she's capable of it. It's a very shallow human being.
Very shallow.
And I think that's something that, like, you can't necessarily, you're on a show and you're acting, but a lot of your real self does come out. There is an essence of who you are that does come out. And enough of it has come out for me to come to the conclusion that that's basically really who you are.
So Whitney's final statement was, Whitney has finally sworn off speaking to bloggers and engaging in the rumors and the nastiness. Instead, she's pouring that energy into making Prism a bigger success. She's also vowed to keep Justin out of her drama. Okay.
We'll see.
And Heather's final was, Heather finished her book tour for the second book and has begun working on her third. She realized her time is better spent writing nonfiction than nasty. Text messages, spoiler alert, Mormons are somewhat involved.
In the book, in the third book.
Yes.
How much more could she possibly have to say? I never read one of her books, and I don't plan on it.
Okay. So next is the reunion. We'll have to see how they wrap this up.
The reunion.
I will say, I do think that this is the best Meredith has ever looked on a reunion.
I did not like her reunion look.
I don't love it, but I'm just saying this is the best she's ever looked on a reunion. There's no feathers involved. There's no blazers involved with, I just think that this was her best choice for a reunion look to date. I think Whitney killed it.
Well, you did. I didn't like Whitney's at all.
I thought Whitney looked amazing.
I didn't like it. I didn't like Whitney's. And I did not like Britney's. Britney's looked like it was on the clearance rack from Macy.
I don't even remember seeing Britney's, quite honestly.
Yeah, so that's...
I don't think I saw her in a picture. I think I just saw the main.
Well, actually, I have all the shots. I thought we'd talk about it next week for the reunion episode. Yeah, so I have all the shots for the reunion looks, and I'm going to have the designers and I think the prices too. And then we'll talk about them.
All right, we'll talk then.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Until next time, thank you for watching and listening to We Why Whenever. Please follow us and download our podcast any place you get your podcast. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.